Hey there, welcome to day 5 of our 40-day Get Up and Go Challenge. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here, and today I want to talk a little bit with you. Of course, we've talked about what do you want, and then we talked about what do you really, really want. After that, we talked about why do you want it, and yesterday we talked about your core values, because a lot of times when we think about what we want, when we really think about what we want, when we ask ourselves why, and we go really deep on that, and if you didn't do that, I challenge you today, or over the weekend for sure, sit down in a quiet place and spend some time going deep on your why, because your why is the most important thing, and one of the most important things that you will do. It's almost even more important than the what you want, because it's the motivator. It's the little engine that keeps you moving toward what you want, even when you don't feel like it. Because guess what? Anything we want that's worthwhile, sometimes we don't feel like putting in all the effort that it's going to take to achieve that thing, to get that thing, to have that thing be a part of our life. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's being in great physical shape, whether it's starting your own business, having your own business, being a great employee, moving up at work, whatever it is that you want, getting an awesome car or home or whatever in any area of our life, anything that we really want that's worthwhile for us is going to require us to put forth some effort and work toward that. And we'll talk about that throughout the 40-day challenge. Never going to do a challenge where I don't, in some way, shape, or form, talk about the effort and the value that you need to put into it to get out what you want, to achieve what you want. But today, we're going to talk about something that I didn't realize impacts and has impacted my entire life, in every aspect of my life, and how it makes life easier, how I've used it subconsciously at first, unconsciously at first, and then I started to use it on purpose. And when I switched over to using this strategy on myself on purpose, everything in my life got easier. Everything became more understandable, less chaotic, less up in the air, not knowing how to deal with things all the time. And that is, of course, what people call frameworks. I call processes, systems, procedures, habits, rituals, whatever you want to call it. It's the way we do things, right? We all have a way that we do things. And we're going to talk about tomorrow, sneak peek, how we right now, how whoever you are, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, how you currently handle challenges. And guess what? 2020 has given each and every one of us human beings so many opportunities to see how we actually react under change and challenge and pressure, because it's been like a boiler house. I don't know for you, but for me in my life and everybody I know, it has been just a series of incredible situations that we would never have anticipated being in. And that means we get to see how we respond under pressure. And how we do that, we each have a process, a way, a series of steps that we go through when we are faced with a challenge, when we're faced with an obstacle, when we're faced with a failure or a situation that feels challenging to us, right? Now, I have switched over to looking at challenges in a positive way. I used to get super duper frustrated whenever anything didn't go my way or the way I thought it should go. I would blow an internal gasket, and I wasn't that good at hiding my feelings. So pretty much everyone around me, whether not so much in corporate America, but my own businesses, and definitely my family and my kids, and even my family when I was a little kid, they used to have an expression where they would say, Sherry, because my nickname was Sherry, pop the cork. Which, I'll tell you what, when you're upset and frustrated about something, or angry, or feeling any sadness or negative emotions, when your family all tells you pop the cork, what does that make you want to do? It makes you want to explode even more. It's like telling somebody to not feel bad, or to not feel any certain way. That has the absolute opposite effect on people, me included, and probably you as well, that we really want. When somebody's feeling sad or grieving or upset or angry or frustrated, the worst thing you can do is say, oh, don't feel frustrated about that. Don't worry about that, because it negates their feelings and it intensifies their feelings. At least that's how it works on me and my children. So, frameworks. What the heck? Why do we want to talk about frameworks? Why do we want to think about them? Well, because one of the frameworks, and I'm just going to introduce one today, but we're going to have a different exercise today. One of the frameworks that I learned when I was in high school, actually, was the journalism framework. Who, what, where, when, why, and how. And how that helped me was when I first started writing articles for the high school newspaper, I didn't know anything about writing, right? I didn't know anything about how and what you needed to do to make a decent newspaper article. Now, this was in the days when journalism was actually journalism. And I say that with a very heavy heart because I went to college thinking I went to college and I went to Marquette because I wanted to go to journalism school. I wanted to be a journalist. And now every day I thank goodness that I didn't go into that profession because I have almost zero respect for it at this point. It is, and we won't even get off on that tangent. But that framework, who, what, where, when, why, and how, has served me throughout my entire life because it taught me step by step by asking each of those questions about a situation and about, because I would go out, I'd be assigned an article or a story, and I'd have to go out and I'd have to investigate that story. I was actually an investigative journalist for our high school paper, and so I would have to go out and investigate the story and dig and find out all the information. Well, to make sure I didn't miss anything, in journalism we used to use the who, what, where, when, why, and how framework, and that actually can be used whenever I discovered along the way that I could use that whenever I was facing a challenge or a difficulty. And then later on in college I learned the plan, do, check, act, and that one served me my whole life too, because everything in the quality profession asks and follows that framework: plan, do, check, act. And so there's frameworks and there's ways of doing things that we discover along the way of our lifetime that serve us really well because they act as a guideline, so we don't even have to think about on a conscious level all of the different things and worry about missing them. I have got who, what, where, and why, and how in those questions so ingrained in my being after so much use that I automatically approach problems that way. Now, is there a framework or is there a way that you do certain things in your life? And I will say that each and every one of us have our own framework. How we feel or experience a different emotion, each one of us go through a series of steps in order for us to feel that. Whether it's we feel love, in order for me to feel loved, there are things that have to happen, and then I will actually feel and experience love. The same is true of frustration. And I did actually a real study on what it takes to make me feel frustrated, because I noticed, and this was years ago now, but I still get frustrated. I will tell you, I still will get frustrated with things on my computer, but I consciously notice when I'm starting to feel that, and I stop and I do different things now than I used to. I used to, part of my process, my framework was I would think things should be a certain way, right? I would have expectations, and whenever my expectations weren't met, and they weren't necessarily realistic expectations, come on, they were just my idea of how things should work, especially in my life, my relationships, my business, things like that. Hey, it's my business, this is the process, this is how much time it should take, and if it's not taking that much time, or if it's taking way longer than that much time, then it's wrong and I'm going to be frustrated. That was my whole way of analyzing situations and whether I would get frustrated or not. Frustration is not, for me, a very good feeling. But I had this whole ritual, this whole set of steps, this whole series of things that would happen that would trigger that feeling in me. And then I'd get, how do you act when you're frustrated? When I'm frustrated, I get stressed out, my body starts acting faster. I get anxious, I get ornery, I get snappy and short, things like that. All behaviors I didn't want to ever exhibit with my kids, with my ex-husband, with my the people that worked with me and for me in my businesses. So I consciously had to decide and figure out, I had to analyze and figure out what is it that it takes me to get frustrated. And then I finally figured out and analyzed that it was when I thought something should go a certain way and it wasn't going according to the plan I made up in my head, then I would get frustrated. Guess what? It's really easy to get frustrated when the only thing that has to happen is something doesn't meet your expectations, right? Oh my God, what a bad definition of frustration. So as Tony Robbins taught me, I decided to change my definition of frustration, what it takes to get me frustrated. And so now, in order for me to get frustrated, I have to be in a situation where there's absolutely positively no way that I can figure it out. Now, I have been in a lot of very strange situations, and I've always gotten out of them, right? I've had 100% success of living how many ever days I've been alive. with the exception of about a week in there. But otherwise, I've had success every single day, right? And so if there's absolutely positively any way I can get out of it, I can figure a way out of it, I can get somebody, I can call somebody, I can Google it, I can ask for help, that I can solve the problem I'm in or the situation I'm in, then I'm not allowed to be frustrated about it. And I don't feel frustrated about it. Instead of being frustrated, I'm curious about finding the solution. And that in and of itself exploded frustration for me. So it is like super duper hard for me to get frustrated these days, at least compared to how I was in the past. So what I want you to look at today for our assignment is pick I'd say we're going to do challenges tomorrow, so don't pick challenges or things like that, but let's pick a positive emotion today and ask yourself, what does it take for me to feel loved? What does it take for me to feel grateful? What does it take for me to experience joy, happiness, fun? How about fun? Pick a positive emotion and then sit down just for a minute or so and say, what does it take for me to feel that? And then you'll know there's specific things. Maybe it's a smell. But there's certain things that trigger us and trigger that emotion in us. Maybe it's music or a song. Or what does it take for you to get excited or curious? Pick a positive emotion, figure out what it takes for you to feel that, and then share in the comments below just the emotion that you chose to figure out. Because we don't need to know your detailed process. We're going to break that down tomorrow. But what does it take for you to feel one of the positive emotions? Love, joy, gratitude, happiness, fun, curiosity, excitement, whatever the positive ones are for you. Share that, just the emotion that you had in the comments below, because I'm curious what emotion people are working on or what they do this process on. Sid, if you have any questions about this, hit me up in the comments below. Otherwise, I will be with you tomorrow, and I've already let the cat out of the bag. We are going to do a similar activity with challenges, right? Challenges and change, because what are challenges? Challenges are just change, right? And we all have that already. We already have a way that we deal with change now, but what we want to do is we want to make sure that we're creating our own framework throughout this 40-day challenge, and it doesn't take 40 days. It takes about one. It takes, I can do it instantly now, but it takes 4 days of me explaining the framework we're going to use for handling challenges. But first, tomorrow we need to know what is your personal framework. But today, what are your positive emotions? What is your personal process, system, framework, triggers, whatever you want to call it, that you go through to get to that emotion? We don't instantly feel our emotions. They feel instant to us, but there's things that have to happen for us to actually say, oh, I feel loved, I feel happy, I feel grateful, I feel curious, I feel adventurous, whatever a positive emotion is to you. All right, have a great day. Catch you tomorrow. Bye.